Greetings, guys. Hopes all is well. Hopefully, you had a great start of your week so far. Just wrapped up this weekend watching the NBA Finals. Man, the championship series went down to the wire, went a full 7 games. Two what you would consider to be underdog franchises that came up. Her first team won their first title last night, but it was a great, amazing series. Two teams battling back and forth. The unfortunate part about last night is one of the young NBA superstars got hurt, so we're gonna wish him a speedy recovery. But what I recognized, like listening to it last night, but then I was up this morning listening to, the sports shows with the talking heads that are going back and forth. And I noticed something from last night, but then also this morning, is how often these talking heads and commentators talk about legacy. It's legacy this, legacy that. He just secured his legacy with that shot. She's going to hurt her legacy with that decision. He's still chasing the legacy of the greats before him. And what always strikes me when I hear this is most of the time they're having arguments and conversations about people who are still playing. They're still living their dreams. They're still becoming who they are going to be by the end of their career. And I think to myself, wait. Legacy isn't something that you just wrap up at the end and get stamped. It's something that you build with every single decision every day you put your feet on the ground. Well, hey guys, I'm Dr. Emmanuel George. Welcome to the Emmanuel Dr. EG3 podcast. Around here, most folks just call me Dr. EG3. And what we do here is we keep it real. We talk about growth, clarity, confidence, and hopefully just becoming the version of you that you've been holding back, even if it means showing up messy, uncertain, or in transitions. Each week, we dive into a conversation that will challenge the way we think, how we show up, and most importantly, how we become. And today's no different. Today, we're going to talk about legacy, not as the past tense highlight reel, but as the living, breathing impact that you're making right now in this moment. Because here's what I believe. Legacy isn't just a moment. It's a pattern. And your patterns are leaving fingerprints everywhere you go. So here's where the idea of legacy hits me. I remember I was listening to one of these debate shows, you know the ones I'm talking about, where like one person's arguing with another, and they just have like two opposing positions. And sometimes I look at these shows and I think, man, there's no way that person could have that level of strong belief or opinion. But then I remember ad dollars, and this is where people, make money. But anyway, two guys are going back and forth talking about a player's legacy, like it's some sealed vault, like it's already set in stone. And I sit back like, yo, dude is still playing. He's like in his 20s. He's not even done yet. How are we labeling him a Hall of Famer or dooming him to the pastor at this point? And I just didn't understand, like, why are we so quick to finalize someone's story when they're still writing it? This got me thinking, how many of us are walking around thinking about legacy is something that we'll get to later? The truth is, it's being built how we speak to our kids, how we show up at work, how we recover from failure, how we overcome, how we treat people who can't give us anything back. I started thinking to myself, what's the patterns of my presence? What are my daughters picking up from me that they'll carry long after they're gone? What is impact that am I leaving on my wife? Am I allowing her to grow and be who she needs to be? What about the other people that I interact with? Because legacy isn't about a resume. It's about the residue of what you leave behind when you leave the room. Now, I got a couple of things that I want to talk to you guys about, maybe 5 key points around legacy that I think are really, really important. And the first thing I want you to leave with you is everyone leaves a legacy. The only question is whether it's intentional. Now, some people don't think about legacy at all. They're just trying to get through the week, keep the bills paid, keep the peace. How about this? Just stay afloat. And I get that. But here's the truth. Even when you're not being intentional, you're still leaving an impression. You're still modeling something. You're still teaching people what matters by what you give your time and energy to. So you might as well own it and be intentional about it and make sure that it's leaving the mark that you want it to. The second thing about legacy is it's a behavior, not a biography. Legacy isn't just about your accolades, it's about how you show up when no one's watching. It's the grace you give when someone's wrong. It's the silence you hold instead of clapping back at that person that, look, and they probably deserved it. It's the small moments repeated time and time again that actually build your influence with people around you. If people feel better, clearer, stronger after being around you, then that's legacy. Number 3, you don't get a legacy later. You're actually shaping it right now. Stop thinking your legacy is for when you're older, retired, or gone. It's not something that's written after your story ends. It's being written in real time. And if I can tell you from my experience, individuals who wait longer in their life to consider legacy, oftentimes they may be filled with regret because they don't feel like they have the time to go back and change it. When I tuck my daughters in at night, when I give my wife my full attention, even when I'm tired, when I show up for my students who are doubting themselves, those aren't just moments. Those are brushstrokes in me painting my legacy. And I want it to be beautiful, not perfect, just honest. And if I can tell you just one individual that I was working with, I remember he was top of his field. He was pretty rich by most standards, had given his wife pretty much everything that she had ever wanted, the trips, the cars, the big houses. His kids had gone to private schools and graduated. Now they were in college and they had cars and stuff. And now he's kind of in, I guess, the twilight. And he was sharing with me about how now that the kids are gone and the grandkids, and it's almost like he doesn't know his wife because he spent all of those years building and working, and what he was describing as, I gave them the life and the kids, and he gave them all this stuff, and the kids are a little bit estranged, and he hasn't quite seen his grandkids in a year or so, a couple of years. And I can tell you, he was working so hard to build this life that he was trying to give his family. My observation was, in his building, he didn't build his life with his family. He was building it for them, but not with them. So there was never shared agreement on what was the path and what it would look like. And what was most saddened to me was he was filled with all this regret because his wife and him had lived kind of like different lives at this point. But then also his kids didn't necessarily want to be around him because in all of the time of him building to give them things, all they ever really wanted was him. They wanted him to give himself to them throughout their life. And, it just kind of struck me kind of hard of making sure that I'm around. Now, the fourth thing that I want to share with you is your legacy begins the moment you take ownership of it. There's power in recognizing that I can shape what people carry from my life. Now, that's not ego. That's responsibility. It's me taking ownership, but most importantly, the purpose of what I am here for. I'm trying to take ownership of how I interact with other people and try to decide. Now, they're fully autonomous and they can interact with me and have their own genuine experience of how I show up. But I have to take ownership on my intention of how I interact with people, to what intent I interact with them, and what purpose I'm interacting with them. And guess what? You don't have to do it out loud. You just have to show up and be real and consider about what is it that you want to leave with folks. So I got one more for you, but let's just recap. Number 1 is everyone leaves a legacy. Number 2, legacy is a behavior, not a biography. Number three, you don't get a legacy later. You're shaping it right now. Number four, your legacy begins the moment you take ownership of it. But then here's number five. It's never too late to rewrite your legacy. Maybe you've lived years reacting instead of leading. Maybe your past chapters weren't marked by kindness or purpose or presence, like the person that I mentioned. But listen, this is not the end of your story. That doesn't have to be the end. You can change your pattern, and in doing so, you can change your legacy. Now, you can make the effort, you can reach out, and those individuals may or may not let you back in. And that's a reality. But you can decide today, this is the moment I'm going to start living with impact. This is the moment that I'm going to start showing up and showing people how love leads, how truth holds, and how growth can really happen. Your legacy doesn't need a clean history. It needs a clear decision. So, here's your challenge of the week. Ask yourself this. If someone watched a highlight reel of how I lived this past week, what would they learn from me? Would it inspire them? Would it encourage them? Would it show them how to lead, love, or grow? And what I would like you to do is your actions this week. I want you to act like the camera is always rolling, not for performance, but for purpose. So knowing that you're always being watched, because I want you to realize someone is learning how to live by watching you. So if this episode spoke to you, or you know someone that could really use this message, please, somewhere on this page, subscribe, share, let someone know about it, and share it with someone whose legacy you already see, even if they're not done yet. Let's remind each other that legacy starts right now, not someday in the future. Not when you've attained a lot, or you've finished this, or you've completed that, or you have the significant other and the house and the 2 cars and 2.5 kids and a dog and a white picket fence. It starts today. But I want you to know that your legacy starts today. And always, guys, always, always, always remember, I love you much.